Pastors, I want to challenge you today with a thought that it originates with the understanding that we are in the end times. And I state that knowing that as soon as Christ was resurrected from the grave, we're in the end times. But with that being said, we know that in the end times, that there will be a great deception among people within the church, outside the church, and that really begins to mark a speeding up, if you will, of the end times. I'm wondering if many of us pastors are in part of that deception. Let me explain. Because I believe many of us think that church growth is what we're in the business of, when in the reality is we are in the business of the gospel. As I mentioned before, the most recent research says that only 6% of church growth in today's world in the United States is from new converts, meaning people who've accepted Christ for the first time. The majority of all other church growth is simply people going from one church to another. Now, the number one reason why people choose another church is they move. You can't fault people for that. If you move from one state to another, you're obviously not going to make the drive to the same church. But the number two reason that people switch churches is because they feel like their needs aren't being met. Now, I'll say this. If your sheep aren't being fed, they're probably going to find a shepherd that will feed them. But outside of that, may the deception be such that we as pastors think that because we're growing, we're successful, and we're actually doing the work of a pastor. We're actually preaching the gospel. If only 6% in our church are being reached with the gospel, we're probably failing. And the deception is this: are you more concerned about your church growing or about preaching the gospel and seeing people come to Christ? Because the truth is, we can plan our services to have better worship, better musicians. We can write our own music. We can have great sermons and analogies, and we can have wonderful props on stage and beautiful technology and beautiful graphics. And I'm not against any of that. If the heart of the pastor is, this is so that we can reach people with the gospel. We say that, but are we really concerned that we're not reaching people with the gospel? Number one, you have to preach the gospel regularly, almost weekly. You better understand what the gospel is. It's not just a Bible message. It's explaining Christ, why he's here on earth, the work of the cross, that we are born as sinners. We must confess our sins to Christ. We must accept his forgiveness. We must choose to make him Lord of our life and base our life on our scriptures and on our walk and relationship with him. It's kind of the dumbed down version, but are we preaching that message that people are going to hell and they're unfulfilled and lack peace until they know what the gospel is and they take steps to receive Christ? That's the gospel. Does that keep you up at night, or does it simply keep you up at night that your church isn't growing? Because the truth is, there's always going to be somebody out there bigger, better, that has more lights, more sound, better coffee, a cooler pastor, a better sermon, a more entertaining Sunday experience. That's deception. That's not the gospel. And I don't think Satan has a problem with us doing those things as long as we don't preach the gospel. Preach the gospel. That's what it's about. Go into all the world and preach the gospel, not go into all the world and grow your church. If you preach the gospel, your church might grow. It might. But if you preach the gospel, people will be saved and end up in heaven. Don't be deceived. There's a difference. Focus on what matters most, the gospel.